here is my new project. This is a 1983 Honda Accord with a 1.8 liter inline four and an automatic transmission that I just picked up roughly about 3 days ago. Currently, I'm in the process of getting the electrical restored on this to get power to the coil and the distributor and the fuel pump. And I will have to go through and rebuild the carburetor. But, and also it's got some problems with the brakes. It's not holding any brake fluid or not pumping. And I'm working on that right now, getting parts ordered, but I do also have an unfortunate, pretty bad ding to this fender panel here, which interferes with the door. But all in all, this is a very nice car. It's, like I said, a 1983 Honda Accord with a 1.8 liter engine. It has roughly about, I believe, 140,000 miles on it right now. Other than that one ding on the fender, this thing is in amazing shape considering that it's, you know, a 40-year-old vehicle. From what I've tested, all of the headlights and everything still work, and all the lights are functional in it. It's a really nice car, and actually, when I'm done with this car will be for sale. In the car, oh sorry, you can see it's got 123,000 miles on right there. It's a little dusty, but all things considered, it's a really nice car. Like I said, automatic. Unfortunately, be nice if it was a manual, but I mean, dash isn't cracked. Radio still works. It's got air conditioning, and I believe it's factory air conditioning. Seats are really nice in it. I did try the radio out a little bit, and it sounds like all the door speakers, including the ones back here, are still functional. This is just a really nice general purpose car for anyone, and like I also said, when I'm done with this, it'll be for sale. It does have factory cruise control along with the buttons here. It does have all of the paneling and all that right here. This was attempted to be fixed before I got it, so there's a lot of parts here that I've been going through and checking on. I don't have a battery in it right now, but if I do roll the key over, it does light up, and from what I can tell, all of the gauges work. All of the lights are functional. The AC is functional. As far as I've gotten to test is enabling the blower motor and then initiating the AC with the AC on-off button, which did cause, I could hear the clutch on the compressor up in the engine engage, as well as the electrical fans had kicked on. So I'm fairly confident that the AC does work in this. From what I can tell too, it doesn't seem like this car has ever been smoked in, and just like looking at the cigarette lighter there, it looks really clean. Like, it doesn't even look like it's been heated up. So that's nice. And then all 4 windows are crank. They do work. Door locks work, dome light works. The headliner is not sagging. At least if it is, it's not sagging enough to notice. Coming around to the back, it does have the carpet, which is right there. I just have it taken out to clean it, but there's no like hidden rust under any of these. It does include the spare along with some cables and the factory jack, but that spare is completely out of date. Yeah, there's a cracked tail lens right here, but I do have a lead on getting a replacement. What else? This one's good. I mean, there's a little tiny bit of, you know, surface rust and corrosion here, but you know, some paint bubbling. It does have a little bit of paint peeling right here, and it does look pretty bad, but it's probably close to being crunchy. But so far, I mean, I've been trying to, you know, like poke at it. Obviously got some paint bubbling right here. It doesn't look like it's reached the point of rust through yet. It is very close though. But I mean, it does open and close. Very nice. All 4 doors do operate. This one's a little stiff, but that's probably because it was hardly ever used. I got this from an older gentleman, and this was primarily his wife's car, kind of just their commuter car. See, the door, this one works a lot better, probably because it was used more. Shuts really nice. I can still, and it's rock solid shut. Yeah, I mean, as far as what's going on up here, I've just been chasing wires. I have not done this. I've actually ordered wire to get these fixed here. Let me pull away some of this tape. As you can see there, somebody has been in here at some point, and they tried to just cover this. They started with wrapping with this one, and yeah, it's, I mean, I understand why it did this. It primarily did this because when the distributor cap is installed over here, these wires are ran right through this small little channel here in order to be this blue wire. I know it looks green up here, but this is, according to the wiring diagram, this is supposed to be a solid blue wire with no tracer. This wire is part of the reason why, or at least it is part of the system that led to this car getting parked. It powers this igniter or ignition module that's inside of this rotor, as well as the coil, which sits right here. You can see there's that blue wire again, and the black with a yellow tracer that accompanies it right there. Those wires go to that fuse panel underneath the dash there, and there's that component. It's called a fuel pump shutoff relay according to the service literature. Looks like this. It looks like a relay, but in reading it seems to function more like a junction block because it receives power from the key on this pin and then sends the power down these two. This one would be the blue tracer. This is the black and yellow tracer, and it sends power to the fuel pump and the ignition coil. So like I said, it's called a relay, but in my mind it's more like a junction block because it has no coil. It's not like electromagnetically activated or mechanically activated. It is purely electrical distribution. But regardless, it is called a relay. Like I said, the fuel pump shutoff relay. That is what, when you roll the key over to the run and crank position, that's what allows both the ignition system and the fuel system to be turned on and primed. So I have one of those coming right now from the parts store. But I was able to take a small jumper wire to the back of that fuse block right there, and I was able to jump those pins that I was talking about that are responsible for controlling these two systems. The fuel tank is just like any typical car. It's underneath the rear seat. You can get access to it by taking the seat out, and then the pump is on top of it. When I did that, I was able to hear the fuel pump activate, as well as pressurize the fuel up on the carburetor. Unfortunately though, when it did do that, pretty much every single orifice that fuel could come out of here did come out. It leaked fuel all down there. It was wet on top of here, wet. There was fuel coming out of here, fuel coming out of there. There was about I'd say 3 or 4 tablespoons of oil sitting in this primary. It was just, there was just fuel everywhere. It reeked of fuel as soon as I started it. So I knew that the gaskets had failed. So I'm gonna have to do basically one of 3 things. I can either A, rebuild that carburetor, and the carburetor rebuild kit is roughly about $260, $266 before shipping. B, I could get a new 3-barrel carburetor. This is a Keihin or Keihin 3-barrel carburetor. Those are about $460, and the reason why I'm hesitant to do either one of those is reading forums and going through some service literature and service information regarding these 3-barrel carburetors that were used on these engines. These were Honda's CVCC technology, and I did a little bit of reading. Basically, from what I could understand, these are a gasoline engine that essentially has an IDI chamber, or an indirect injection chamber. 1 barrel, which I believe is this one, primary barrel, sucks in primarily overly rich fuel, and this one sucks in a charge of primarily lean, and this is the choke. So this will also intake air, and basically it also has a lot of, as you can see, these are all vacuum control lines that come from a vacuum module there. And it has some other functions, like it has a high rev for cold conditions. It has a over fuel situation for the cold starting. It'll put more fuel in there to kick this, the ignition off during cold conditions. It has an intake air temperature sensor here. This vacuum line is connected to this device, which I believe it's described as like a hot air sensor, a mechanical hot air sensor, and it will control this vacuum valve that it's hard to see, but there is a valve in there. You can see that stem there, and it basically restricts air. This would be where cold air would come in, and instead pulls air through this port, which is connected to that red pipe, which surrounds the exhaust manifold, kind of similar to how aircraft heaters function. They have a chamber of air that is surrounding the exhaust manifold, and it pulls that hot air into the cab for your heat. But instead of using that for heat, they're using it to basically pump hot air into the engine to heat it up faster. And there's just a lot of other functions that this carburetor does, and a lot of it was emissions related for things. You know, this was around the time where we were starting to get more and more into emissions control systems and things like that. And I believe that as this carburetor was set up from the factory, it didn't produce very much power. I think this engine only made about 70 to 75 horsepower, but it was able to be sold in every state except California without a catalytic converter. The cars that were sold in California were still required to have a catalytic converter, but I believe this one doesn't. I haven't actually gotten the opportunity to lift this thing up and check under it to see if it does or doesn't. From what I saw from the registration paperwork in the glove box, it doesn't seem like it was ever in California. But again, I will just have to see. On top of the few goodies that I got, you know, the parts and stuff, I also got these manuals included with it. And yes, this is a cardboard binding. So obviously somebody took the time to do this, but this is essentially a 1983 Honda Accord service manual. This would be the electrical manual to it. So I've been using those along with ALLDATA to kind of help diagnose this thing. And yeah, so right now, like I said, I'm waiting on the fuel shutoff relay to come in. I am waiting for, let's see, I need to get the fuel pump shutoff relay in there to confirm where the carburetor is actually leaking. I don't want to condemn it if that is not actually the issue. You know, I don't want to say that the whole carburetor is essentially trashed because of the leak I saw. When I was working on it, I was underneath the dash at the time. So, let me just set you guys down. Like I said, I was underneath the dash at the time. So all I did is when I came out from underneath the dash, I smelt really bad gas. Like, not only bad gas from probably sitting for so long, but also it just smelled really bad like gas in here. And then I came around to the front. That's when I saw the carburetor was just absolutely soaked. And that's kind of when I had to make the decision, which I'm still thinking about. Oh yeah, sorry, option 3. There is a Weber conversion, like a Weber carburetor, Redline distributed by Weber, Weber distributed by Redline. They sell a conversion kit for these Honda Accords to convert it to a 32 by 36 or 32/36 Weber carb, 2-barrel carburetor. I'm pretty sure. I think there's also another one to do a 36/36 Weber carb conversion, or you just use the conversion kit and you can put a 36/36 on it. These engines were not really designed to be high horsepower. They were definitely tuned more for economy, especially with the low horsepower of like I said, 70 to 75 horsepower, and like 50 foot-pounds of torque. They're not drag racing engines, basically. But I do want to get this thing fixed. Along with the current issues, I was inspecting the transmission fluid, and I would definitely say the fluid is probably factory, and it was orange. Kind of turning almost like a burnt orange color. So that definitely needs to be replaced. The power steering fluid is completely brown. The brake fluid is non-existent from what I can tell. I haven't checked it today. I did leave brake fluid in it overnight, hoping that maybe if the seals in the Brake Master had maybe dried out, it could possibly cause them to expand again and seal, but I'm guessing that either A, there's a really nasty air pocket trapped in the master cylinder, and it's gonna have to be bled in order for it to start pumping again, because right now you could definitely tell that there is a return spring on the brake. There's spring pressure bringing the brake pedal back up, but if that spring wasn't there, the brake pedal would just squish right to the floor. There's nothing, no resistance anywhere in the travel. So hopefully it's just in the Brake Master. Hopefully I don't have like a brake line rusted out or something like that, although being that it was empty and the fact that oil doesn't evaporate really, it's most likely that there's a leak somewhere. I couldn't see anything on the brake lines leading up to the Master. I just need to lift this car up, get it in the air, and then do an underside inspection to see what I can find in regards to the fuel lines, the brake lines, suspension, steering, etc. Anything that's underneath the car. Probably gonna plan on putting new brakes in it anyway, new drums, shoes, hardware kit. It's got rotors up front, so I'd probably put new rotors, new pads up front. And you know, if I'm going that far and it already doesn't have brake fluid in it, I might as well probably do a flush on the brake fluid. Power steering fluid is going to have to get flushed. Transmission fluid is going to have to get flushed. It's going to obviously need an oil change. It's going to probably need, it does have a new air filter though, so that's nice. It's dusty. It looks dirty on the outside, but that's just because it's been sitting in a box inside the car for about 3 years, 3 to 4 years. So this is a good air filter. I just need to clean the dust off of it, make sure that it seals up on the lid, and then it'll be good to go. What else? Obviously engine oil filter goes along with engine oil change, transmission filter. But it definitely needs to be flushed. It is not good. It is not good. And I haven't heard this thing run yet. Probably won't until I get the carburetor situation figured out. So I guess let me know if you know of any other alternatives. If you have ever rebuilt one of these carburetors, this is definitely not a Holley 4-barrel or 2-barrel or Edelbrocken, or this carburetor, from what I could tell, even when they were new, they had a lot of problems. They were very finicky. They were very sensitive to the environment, much more than a traditional carburetor ever was. So there's some things that it's not necessarily the best unless you're going for a purist, period correct type of like restoration or build. But I don't know. I'm not expecting to turn this thing into a dragster or anything. Like, I'm not gonna hack this thing apart. This car is in amazing shape. This would not be something that should be stripped. This is something that should be put back on the road and driven. Driven every day, driven to work, to the grocery store, to, you know, this is a car that should be back out on the road, getting someone wherever they need to go. You know, if this thing was more banged up, more rusted, more even in worse mechanical state, then yeah, go for it. Turn this thing into a rally car, turn it into a track car, or something like that. But as it sits right now, this is a really good car to put back on the road. And with that being said, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to putting the Weber carb in there, even though it's supposed to be a performance upgrade. But even with, from what I saw, you might gain 15-20 horsepower with the carburetor. I mean, you're still going to be lucky to hit triple digits with your horsepower output. So, you know, it's not like and the Weber carb is in between. It's in between the price of a carb rebuild kit and a new reman carburetor. I've seen a lot of people, even when they have rebuilt these, even with the full gasket kit, some cheap gaskets will just fail right off the bat. They will have vacuum leaks. They will, you have to retune them. And there's not much information out there on retuning these things or getting them tuned because of their oddball design. There's not just an idle adjustment or idle fuel adjustment. From what I could tell, they don't even really sell many jet sizes, like different jets for these things. It's pretty much like the few rebuild kits I've seen are just factory size jets. So not a lot to be gained there. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any more experience or has worked on these things in the past. You know, just let me know. What are your thoughts on the 3-barrel carburetor? Is it worth saving? Is it worth converting to a Weber? I can still buy the Weber conversion kits, even though they are a very old part, but they're still available. So I wouldn't, you know, if it is better to leave these things factory and just deal with the 3-barrel carburetor as it is, then fine, I'll do that. But you know, it has also R12, and for those of you who don't know, that is the type of refrigerant that is used for the AC system, and R12 was banned like well over like 30 years ago. I think it's coming up on 30 years. I think it was like the end of the 80s into the early 90s is when they converted to R134A. And even R134A is starting to get phased out for R1234YF, which is even more of a pain to deal with than R134A. But the benefit about converting R12 to R134A is the pressures, the operating pressures, are virtually identical. I believe R134A operates at a slightly higher, like 10 PSI, 5 to 10 PSI more on average if you take it versus a pressure to temperature conversion chart. But so you don't really have to change any of the major components. The basic things you need to do is recover the R12 out of the system, and you have to use R12 dedicated, not like specialized for R12, but hoses that only come in contact with R12. You can't have any cross contamination with your refrigerants. So you have to have a set of hoses and a machine, ideally, that only works with R12, an R12 recovery canister, and then you have to take that into a recycler or somebody so they can properly dispose of it, because R12 was one of those that really punched a hole in the ozone layer. So that shit, it cools amazing. It's an amazing refrigerant, but it is hella toxic. It is horrible to be around. Not that any refrigerant is necessarily completely safe, but R12 is definitely definitely the type that will land you in not only jail as of right now, but in the hospital from breathing it in. Yeah, putting an R134A conversion or getting that done, which basically just requires, like I said, recovering it, flushing the system, and then converting the fittings over from R12 fittings on the compressor to R134A fittings. And then you just pressurize it with the correct amount of refrigerant. So, and there's plenty of tables and there's charts that'll show you if this R12 system took, say an R12 system took half a pound of refrigerant. I don't know what the exact conversion number off the top of my head, but these charts will basically say if it had half a pound, then put in X amount of R134A. And that can be done by any R134A machine once you've properly flushed it and everything. Transmission fluid flush, I think I said that, and you know, kind of brakes, probably tires, inspect the CV axles, make sure that the boots on them are still good, they're not rotted or crusty, or the CVs are good. I haven't gotten to drive it yet, but rolling it around the garage and on and off the trailer, it doesn't sound like, and it doesn't feel like it has any looseness in the steering. Steering feels tight, it feels good. So hopefully, you know, bearings, tie rods, steering rack, all of that is in good shape. At least, like I said, it seems like it, because I've been steering it without power steering, even though it has it, obviously, because it hasn't been running. And it seems tight, it seems good. There's not like a lot of sloppers in the steering wheel, so I would imagine that it's probably all in good shape. Suspension seems pretty good. You can tell if your shocks are going out by just coming to like the corner of your vehicle and then giving it one good jolt down. Don't like try to get it bouncing, just one good jolt, and you'll see how it comes down and then comes up and stops. It doesn't do that. If it's sitting there trying to like bounce, that means that your shocks are out of it and you're basically riding solely on your springs. And so you should probably get your shocks replaced. Interior is in great shape. Like I said, it seems like all of the electrical functions inside the cab seem to work. Blower motor works. The blend doors and that are all mechanical, just with cables, and you can feel the cables and the blend doors move back and forth when you adjust the temperature. Lights on the dash work, headlights work, turn signals work, hazards work, brakes work, brake lights work, I should say. Yeah, there's no major rust like in the wheel wells, in the trunk at least. I could, you know, pull like the seat off on inside the cab and check the front of them, but you know, there's a couple spots that have some rust, but I mean, overall condition, the car is in really good shape overall. So yeah, I do want to get this thing fixed. I want to sell it. I want to sell it to somebody who is in need of a car and wants something they know that will be good. I'm gonna run a compression check on the engine, compare that to the book, make sure that it's in spec for compression. It's got all new ignition components. It's got a new rotor in it, it's got a new ignition module in it, spark plug wires, spark plugs, coil wire, what else? I mean, that's pretty much the entire ignition system. I'm gonna fix that blue and black wire with a yellow tracer. I'm gonna fix those. So like that way I can keep the factory ends, and it'll also have good good wiring in it. That'll be a lot easier to see, a lot easier to identify. I'm gonna unwrap all of that electrical tape because I'm worried what I'm gonna find if I found that under the first piece of electrical tape. I don't want to think about what else has been done to that or spliced into it, or well, hopefully it still has the same path that it's supposed to from the factory. So we'll see. What else is there to talk about? You know, this car is in really good shape, and if there's anything that you guys have any input on, if there's anything that you want to see about it, let me know, because I'll be doing that and some more stuff on Hazmat. I'm gonna probably do the timing chain, or sorry, not timing chain, timing belt on it here soon, once conditions get to the point where I don't want to drive it around anymore. Like when it gets really cold in the winter time, then I'll switch to probably driving my truck more often, which will allow me to actually have Hazmat tore apart. But yeah, I'm also going to be working on this too, so more to come, and just let me know what you want to see. Alrighty, see you.